Wonderful. Good. Once again, thank you all for being here. Appreciate your presence. Let's go ahead and just begin with breath and just breathing in a bit deeper than normal. And with grace and ease, we'll just acknowledge this moment. We'll acknowledge all the good that is here for each of us and all of us. And we'll indeed just notice our breath. And as we gently breathe in and out, we thank the presence of Mother, Father, God, and all the archangels and ascended masters. We thank as well the angelic realm, the elemental realm, our ancestors, spirit guides, animal guides, and guardian angels. We celebrate tremendous peace, wonderful joy, and incredible good being here right now. We thank as well the angelic realm, the elemental realm, our ancestors, spirit guides, animal guides, and guardian angels. We celebrate tremendous peace and wonderful presence being here right now. So if we could just gently breathe in, and indeed, whether you feel this, see it, hear it, or know, but if we could just notice Archangel Michael holding your hand, perhaps the hand that you write with, and we'll just gently just notice that gesture. And that might be feather light, or like a whisper or a flash, or it might be something more overt. But if we could just gently breathe into Archangel Michael making contact with you, and the beauty of that contact, and the clarity that comes with that contact. And the reminder of accomplishment, that you being here, you being who you are, you having the awareness that you have, including awareness of the things that you are healing, have healed, and want to heal, that awareness is an accomplishment, that your drive and desire to feel better, to be fully yourself, and to live on a harmonious planet is an accomplishment, and that it's safe for you to be yourself, it's safe to be alive, it's safe to be acknowledged, it's safe to participate, it's safe to raise your hand, it's safe to speak softly, it's safe to speak, it's safe to be seen and heard. And we'll just notice Archangel Michael acknowledging you right now. And once again, whether this is something you sense, feel, see, hear, or know, we'll just notice Archangel Michael having his full attention on you and recognizing, of course, he could be with all of us at once. And we'll just gently breathe in. And we'll notice this moment of shared wisdom. Your wisdom, the wisdom of Archangel Michael, the wisdom that you have noticed and sought out and appreciated in your life, be that in a book or a song or a poem or a conversation or a film or guidance or a dream. So we'll just gently breathe into all this good and all this goodness, and just noticing that incredible good is right here. So we'll just gently breathe into all that. Wonderful. If we can notice Archangel Michael continuing to have intimate presence with you, perhaps maintaining physical contact with you, we'll just notice Archangel Michael moving either to your side or behind you, perhaps with hands on your shoulders or your arms, or holding your hand. And if we could just gently breathe in, and if we can notice Archangel Michael using his voice and his vision to fill the immediate room, the immediate space that you're in, to fill it with love, to fill it with a really beautiful blue light, to fill it with the energy of beauty and peace and healing, to fill the space. And if we could notice how relaxing that is, and noticing the inversion of any feeling of confinement, shifting into freedom. And we'll just breathe in to this held space, and we'll breathe in to safety. So we'll just gently breathe into all that. And if we could notice with our friend, your friend Archangel Michael, every single cell in your body being filled up with love. The cells in your eyes, the cells in your senses, the cells in your brain, the cells in your hair and your head and your skull, the cells in your neck and your spine and your vertebrae, the cells in your physical heart, the energy of your heart chakra, the cells in your lungs and ribs and your digestive system, the cells in your reproductive system, the cells in your structural system, all being infused with perfect love, with unconditional love. And it's safe to receive, and it's safe to be loved, and it's safe to have love be infused into every single cell in your body. So we'll notice your system of senses, your system of intuition, your nervous system, your immune system, every system being infused with unconditional love. We'll just gently notice all that. And perhaps we could just feel Archangel Michael standing next to you or right behind you. And to really take in his presence, be that taking that in 1% or more, but just noticing that Archangel Michael's with you. And we'll just notice once again the beautiful blue light. We'll notice also your favorite angels, guides, and goddesses, and masters of expression, perhaps sitting on the floor where you are. And we'll just gently breathe into this population of love. And we'll notice that the deck is stacked in the direction of love. And we'll just gently breathe in. And very gently, we'll just notice or be reminded of the you who is experiencing this. And we'll notice that that you is safe. That you is safe right now. And it's safe for you to be safe. So we'll just gently breathe into that. We'll notice the safety of long brain waves. the safety of focus, the safety of a held space, the safety of your choice to participate in this, be it live right now on Zoom or in a future moment, engaging with a recording. The Zoom is for you, the recording is for you, but you are included. So we'll just gently breathe in and we'll just notice safety being here. And if we could notice how good it feels to be safe. And we'll just gently breathe into all that, breathing into all this goodness. And just right where you are, as the you who is here, which is your conscious self, your conscious adult self, and we'll just gently breathe in. And as your conscious adult self, we'll simply say out loud, I actually am safe right now. I'm grateful to be safe right now. Thank you, angels, goddesses, and guides, for being with me. I honor all parts of myself. I acknowledge that all parts of me are safe. And I embrace this safety. Wonderful. So if we could just gently breathe in, if we could notice the beautiful blue, perhaps mixing with white light, perhaps the white light moves vertically up and down through your body and being. And we'll notice all this good and all this goodness. And we'll notice all this peace and all this love. And that all is well. And we'll just gently breathe in. And like ripples in the lake, we'll just notice all of this extending, all of this expanding, the safety expanding into other rooms where you are, into the things that are dear to you, safety and peace, and the brilliant, beautiful blue extending to people and dynamics and projects. Your creativity, room for your creativity, room for you to thrive, and room for you to feel good. And with generous peace and wonderful love, we'll just gently breathe into all of that. And if we could just lovingly say out loud, I am right here. I'm right here. And I'm right on time. Wonderful. So we'll just gently breathe in. And with beautiful peace and wonderful love, we celebrate this day, we celebrate this moment, we celebrate this clarity, we celebrate the presence of Archangel Michael and the angels, goddesses, and guides, and masters of expression that we love. And we celebrate all the good that is here, and we let the good extend and expand. And with gratitude and peace, We thank the presence of Mother, Father, God, and all the archangels and ascended masters. We thank as well the angelic realm, the elemental realm, our ancestors, spirit guides, animal guides, and guardian angels. We thank you for this beautiful day, in this beautiful moment of harmony, of some completion, some new doors opening, and of healing. And we're grateful to heal. And with love and peace, we ask for this or something better right now in all directions of time. And so it is. Wonderful. We'll just gently breathe in. Good work, everyone. I'm grateful to share that experience with everyone. Appreciate your presence in doing that. There is a quote, and we'll get into the sections that Melanie and I have prepared. But there's just a quote in the book in the next bit that we're not going to get into. But there's a quote that safety and terror incompatible, which I think is quite a profound recognition. And that as these moments happen where we recognize that we are safe, or cultivating safety as we've just done, that trusting that that space, even if it's just a little bit, that's a healing. And that we're reminding this or introducing to our bodies and minds what it's like to be safe. Might be a reminder, might be a new territory. But to recognize that that's possible and that's available. And as always, that might happen like 1% at a time or half of 1% at a time, but it happens and we could do it. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you all for sharing this experience. Wonderful. Okay, Melanie. Okay.
Okay, so the first quote that we've pulled today is from page 210. And it is, body awareness puts us in touch with our inner world, the landscape of our organism. Simply noticing our annoyance, nervousness, or anxiety immediately helps us shift our perspective and opens up new options other than our automatic habitual reactions. Mindfulness puts us in touch with the transitory nature of our feelings and perceptions. When we pay focused attention to our bodily sensations, we can recognize the ebb and flow of our emotions and, with that, increase our control over them. So, could we talk a little bit about the difference between responding and reacting, and sort of that connection between mindfulness and intention, and how those are all interconnected?
Yeah. We're experiencing in the news and the things that are happening a lot of reacting. And we'll recognize that it's pretty limited what can happen, which is you suck, no, you suck. And there's just not much that can happen there. And this is just getting us into this space, which I think many of us are here right now because we've had the recognition that more is possible. And so this would get into what is it like to not react, but to respond. And then to add to the response, one more preliminary step, which is to have an intention, what we would like to have happen. So thank you for this peaceful planet. Thank you for everything going well. And then just noticing with those intentions, thank you for, I'm grateful to live on a harmonious planet, and just seeing what happens with that. But having that intention, then when something happens, we're more apt to respond rather than react to it. Because we've put forward an intention that we know works. And we get to then explore that. And so in what the quote that you just shared, Melanie, really getting into our spiritual toolbox of what gets us there. And there's not one way, but certainly, he focuses on mindfulness, which could be almost anything that shifts our focus away from stress and tension into a perspective and a body state that is more peaceful and more encompassing. So coming back to the example of trauma makes everything small, will notice what it's like to have any intention, any meditation, any breath work, any yoga, any stretch that makes things bigger. Or listening to a piece of music, or reading a poem, or having a quote, or having the angel statue or the crystal, whatever it is, that we could recognize what it is, or the plant, what it is that creates that bigness. That's helpful for us.
So do you have any tips specifically? So it seems like the main difference between reaction and response is reaction is missing that intentionality. So do you have any tips, I guess, for or ways to cultivate remaining focused on an intention, and which allows us then to respond rather than react when we're in a stressful or triggering sort of situation?
Yeah, that we can putting forward intention, but also knowing what's going to happen. Like, let's say, she's never going to watch this. So I'm in Washington, D.C., caring for my cranky aunt. So I know going in, she's cranky. She's not so much spiritual, but I know what she's going to be like. So it doesn't work for me to be surprised when she's critical or complaining. And so I know that going in. So I'm not, if I wasn't having that awareness, I would react like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. Instead, I'm like checking a box in my head going, she talked about this, she criticized this about me, she did that. So it's just having the checklist. A different way to articulate that is to be the archaeologist in your life, which is to listen and explore and to notice. Okay, we're at a family dinner. It's interesting that mom mentioned that and uncle mentioned this and my sibling mentioned this. That's interesting. So we're consciously not being the raw nerve, but we're consciously empowering ourselves into a different state of being, which is to listen and to notice, like you were an explorer or an archaeologist. So we can gather more information and recognize patterns and to depersonalize it as much as possible. And this is just coming back to prayer and intention of, especially for, and everyone here is a sensitive person, going somewhere public, be that, going into a city or a bus or a subway, or going to an event, just, going there with your energy filled up with, let's say, 1,000 feet of unconditional love, and just noticing the difference, as opposed to going there and feeling like the pinball. So the tool really is to have an awareness that, okay, I'm a sensitive person. This is how I can best take care of myself at the beginning of this day. I know so-and-so is challenging and I have to do this thing, and so-and-so is, might be cranky, might not be cranky. And just to have that awareness and to put forward intention of what you would like to have happen. Is that answering your question specifically enough?
Yes, I think it
Okay.
is. And to add to that, I've found it can be helpful when you're going into, obviously we can't control everything that's going to happen in our lives and how other people will react. But when you're going into a situation, say with family or someone who might do or say something that could cause more of a reaction rather than a response from you, it can be helpful to sort of lay out or journal about or think about, oh, they're going to say, or they might say this, how might I respond in order to move past this, so that you already have sort of like a prepared set of responses that you can fall back on if you are starting to feel overwhelmed. I found that can be helpful.
It is helpful. That's great to share that. And humor goes a long way, doesn't it?
Humor does go a long way.
Yes,
Yes.
it does. Yes. Yes. As Jerry Seinfeld says, that humor is anger, but it's okay to diffuse situations. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Melanie. Yeah.
So the next quote is from that same page, just in the following paragraph, and it is, even though the trauma is a thing of the past, the emotional brain keeps generating sensations that make the sufferer feel scared and helpless. So it seems like what this getting at is that it's important to get to a place where we understand that it's safe to feel and it's safe to have our feelings. So how can we know that it's safe to feel?
through a couple different things, and there's a sequence here, and we are never trying to force ourselves to feel, but we do feel no matter what. This is where in the work we're doing here and other in the angel work really of we are identifying the difference between the conscious adult self, the adolescent self, and the three aspects of the child self: the wounded child, compliant child, defiant child. And it's recognizing who's upset, which part of us is scared, which part of us wasn't allowed to feel or couldn't feel, and to recognize with that distinction that the adult is going to handle things. And it's just giving room, a little bit at a time, 1% at a time, for the younger parts to feel more and more. And they might feel scared, they might feel angry, they might feel confused, but it's just knowing that by having a space established with intention or being around safe people in a safe situation, that we're just going to open the door and let in some light. So we're never forcing emotion to happen, but we're recognizing that, this may sound really simplistic, that something happened. There's a reason why that it wasn't okay to feel, or our feelings got shut down. There's a reason why. And just identifying that there's a reason why is a great healing in itself, which is the healing of acknowledgement. So this is getting into the three aspects of healing, as the angels say, which is acknowledgement, acceptance, and allowing. Acknowledging something really bad happened. And that acknowledgement's there, then accepting that something different can happen. Or accepting that it's okay for that to heal even a little bit. And then allowing that healing to happen. And letting all that be organic and perhaps facilitated. But just recognizing that healing can happen all the time. And usually it is not, it's not going to all heal at once, but it can move a little bit, it can move like this. But just trusting that our awareness of it and the acknowledgement is incredibly helpful. So to give a practical example, in my work of doing readings and doing groups, I do a lot of acknowledgement in that. Which is if someone mentions that, okay, this thing happened when I was a child, this person died, whatever it was, I acknowledge, like, I'm so sorry that happened. That must have been really hard. Or I'm sorry for your loss. And why I say that is you might be the first person ever to say that. And just, it's a different space that gets created. But it's also recognizing, one last thought here, is in the, so a different way to talk about what this quote is about is hypervigilance. And to recognize the part of you that, is aware of everything all the time, that part has done a great job, and that part's also exhausted. So this is why we did, 15, 20 minutes of a meditation on safety. Just to give ourselves that break and to recognize that, oh, I'm actually safe. Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
The next quote.
Let me say one more thing, Melanie, which is we just one thought, which is we're all already doing this. We can keep going. So I just want to acknowledge everyone. Good job. There's a reason why the people who are here right now are here. There's a reason why Melanie's here. There's a reason why the people will listen on YouTube or whatever platform it is. There's good job. Good job. Let's keep going. Let's do it together. Yeah.
Can I ask a very quick question about that, Mark?
Real quick. Yeah. Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
The idea of safety now and no more need for hypervigilance. I guess there's a feeling that safety now doesn't promise that safety is going to be there a second from now. Mm-hmm. And that's the hypervigilant role. So I was just wondering if you could just talk to that for a second.
Yeah, that we're not ever going to kick open the door on like, okay, I'm safe, it's all good. That's not going to happen. But we could diminish the hypervigilance. So it's recognizing, and this is where the wording comes in, which is, okay, I'm safe right now. And so we're establishing muscle memory and cellular memory and consciousness around what it is to be safe, and recognizing that we might not have ever been safe, or might have been safe for just a few years or a limited period of time. And it's just that reminder which helps to integrate into safety. And to recognize, as Melanie was speaking to, when we know that we're going to go into a tenuous situation, that we could let our conscious adult selves lead the way in that. And indeed, to have the checklist of like, okay, they're going to talk about this, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Does that help?
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for asking. Yeah.
All right. So the next quote is from the following page, 211. And it is, practicing mindfulness calms down the sympathetic nervous system so that you are less likely to be thrown into fight or flight. Learning to observe and tolerate your physical reactions is a prerequisite for safely revisiting the past. If you cannot tolerate what you are feeling right now, opening up the past will only compound the misery and re-traumatize you further. So, Mark,
Yes.
you would like to expand a bit on that. And just, I guess, if you want to get into a little bit about fight or flight again, or just the idea of tolerating, and what does that really mean in this context here? What does it mean to tolerate what you're feeling?
There's several things here, which is interesting that the use of the word tolerate. We are used to being stressed out. We're used to being on our guard. We're used to surviving. Everyone here is used to all those things. And it's recognizing that we're here to add more tools. And it's recognizing that, so what is it, he uses the word mindfulness. What is it to be mindful, to meditate, to have an intention, to pray, to do affirmations? All those things shift the narrative into one of preference, affinity, and alignment. And so for most of us, we did not have a say, and it's recognizing it's okay to have a say. And so with this, then also with the fight or flight or freeze response, it's recognizing how small that makes our world, which is intentional, so we can indeed run or fight or become invisible. And that by doing an action, let's say by sitting down and meditating for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or just sitting down and breathing for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, that act in itself implies a sense of safety, or instills or infuses a sense of safety. So it's recognizing that this is like changing the channel on the radio away from the fear channel that we're all used to. And perhaps we cannot expect the fear channel to go away anytime soon, but we could certainly turn the volume down on it. And so this is getting into Lori's question, which is, the consistency of safety, that this is something that we're working on growing just a little bit at a time. And that we get to know ourselves in that, like, okay, so this dynamic triggers me. This dynamic's not healthy for me. Watching that kind of program and seeing, let's say, violence or disregard is not good for me. Listening to a certain kind of music is triggering for me. Just as we get to know ourselves even more, that helps to diminish or take away and take off the table different things that might be triggering. And we might truthfully socially be criticized for that. Let's ignore that, or just recognize that we're, by taking care of ourselves, we are violating the status quo. And that we're operating in a different way, which is why there's a great deal of understanding, compassion in spiritual work, that we're all doing it together and we understand these things. So to take that one step further, which is it's not weird or silly or blah, 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 to have preferences and take care of ourselves. It's okay to have feelings. And it's okay for things to change. Also, just one last thought, which is, I think, well, two thoughts, which is perfectionism. Let's just, let's not worry about that. That if we, there's a great Ram Dass quote, which is to try not to repeat your spiritual experiences. And what he's talking about that is let everything be fresh. But let's say you have a victory with something, like, okay, I didn't get triggered by that. That's great. Then you get triggered again. That's okay. We're learning. We're learning. We're learning. And the second thought is about coming back to reacting or responding. It's our bodies and our nervous systems are great feedback mechanisms, which has kept us alive. So we're never going to make that wrong or bad. But it's recognizing that feeling on edge all the time is very taxing. So it's just seeing where we can, once again, come back to an intention and let our conscious adult selves lead the way and let's say, Archangel Michael help us out in these situations. That answer that, Melanie?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good deal.
Especially since I didn't ask that specific of a question. So okay. Thank you, did great.
It all worked. Thank you. It all worked out. Yeah.
The final quote that we have before we open it up to sharing is from the bottom of page 211. And it's mindfulness has been shown to have a positive effect on numerous psychiatric, psychosomatic, and stress-related symptoms, including depression and chronic pain. It has broad effects on physical health, including improvements of immune response, blood pressure, and cortisol levels. It has also been shown to activate the brain regions involved in emotional regulation and to lead to changes in the regions related to body awareness and fear. So those are all great things. So could we talk a bit about I hate to use the word failures, but I guess failures of our more Western response to trauma and how we deal with trauma here?
Yeah. Well, America doesn't like weakness, and trauma, everyone has trauma, and it's recognizing that's a baseline. And we're seeing, if we pay attention to the news, we're seeing unresolved trauma at work on a national level, global level, and universal level right now. So it's important that we take care of ourselves and to trust that we are leading the way by taking care of ourselves and healing. And it's essential. Our healing is essential. And this is why Melanie and I are doing this. This is our goal, which is to, let something different happen. So just recognizing, once again, whatever the method is or the means is that we do interrupt the stress. I think this is worth talking about sound healing for a moment, and including in sound healing classical music, or being in a sound healing session, or hearing a recording, or like Deva Primal, or whatever music it is. That trusting that quote unquote passive activity is very important in terms of the vibration, in terms of the intention, and in terms of recognizing that it's safe for you to let your body know that you're going to listen to this and engage in an activity for a period of time. And perhaps in my experiencing and thinking about what is so popular about sound healing, which is there's no requirement. That there's kind of not a social dynamic with it besides being in the space together. That you're not asked to speak necessarily. And just seeing how effective that is, And then seeing how effective it is to do, what we're going to do in just a moment, which is to invite people to share. So just coming back to a space of recognizing that that it's okay to interrupt the narrative of constant stress and to let something different happen. It's okay to do that. Yeah. Do you want to add anything to that, Melanie?
I was just going to say, before we move on, we talk a bit about, I feel like in like Western trauma healing, there's a very big focus on tell me what happened, tell me all the details of what happened. Can we just talk for a moment about when that is helpful versus when that is not helpful?
In my experience, having done therapy forever, and then having a spiritual counseling practice for over 20 years, I never ask people what happened. It's evident in their faces, in their tension, in their aura. And this is coming back to what we were talking about with the first quote, which is the power of acknowledgement. Which is, it's enough, I think, to go like, wow, so like, I'm so sorry those things happen. I'm so sorry you're having trouble sleeping. And then if organically that comes up, or you're working with someone for a long period of time, this and that, and it's not to dismiss having those moments of, of speaking about specifically what happened, but that being perhaps a choice made by the person who experienced those things, as opposed to that being coaxed. This is my take on it. I'd like to hear yours, but just seeing where getting to the core of it right away may not be helpful at all. This is also just very simply where intuition comes in. I might get a little flash and like, oh, that happened, And just as we gain experience, and this is, I never do anything invasive, but there is like a shorthand and a code, for what trauma looks like in people. And that encountering each other with great compassion. And in encountering each other with great compassion, it's recognizing that things that are hard have happened to everyone. And we're all getting by and all doing our best to experience more grace. And the goal being to create a planet where we don't continually re-traumatize each other, and that we eventually have generations of children who are not traumatized at all. And that being the goal. Do you want to add anything to that, Melanie?
Not really, other than I think it, it has its time and its place, talking about things, but that shouldn't be maybe the only or main focus in healing, that we can recognize that we have a lot of other tools within ourselves and around us at our disposal alongside talking about it, especially if we're not quite ready yet to talk or in a space to do so.
Yeah, it need not be the headline. And then getting into like, come on, you could tell me. There's no bargaining, no negotiating. Conversely, it's okay to some people are very comfortable with like, this is what happened. Totally fine. But recognize, I think what you and I are speaking to more is like for the introverts or the empaths, it might be harder to talk about those things. There's no right or wrong in this. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Melanie. So indeed, let's would like to hear from anybody who wants to share like what your experience has been, or what you've learned, or what insights have come forward for you. Yeah, Tulasi, you want to share?
Yeah, so the trauma. So the hugging saint Amma,
Yeah.
you heard about. So she always says everybody has trauma in some form. It's just there's no escape. And so so the practice, she has is the meditation and other things, really helps. And I think she's coming to US. There's a US tour happening. It's coming in July in few cities. So the meditation techniques, I think I find it useful. At least you overcome the trauma for some period of time. And if you do it continuously, you overcome the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And the other point I want to make is that, and recently I found that a friend of mine introduced me to the connection practice. That is
Mm-hmm.
it's basically a practice. You have feelings and need. So I think the trauma is, I don't know how to call it, is a feeling or some residue. I don't know what it is, but so you can actually map, I mean, so feeling, you have a set of feelings, and
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
out of that, in your need, and you can actually, meditate on it. There's a process,
Sure.
and then you can get some answers from within you. It's not, you're not going outside, and it's not non-religious or anything. It's just your own soul will help you to identify, in this situation,
Yeah.
this is my feeling, but this is my need. And then you go to
Yeah.
the group or the other person you have,
Yeah.
encounter with. Then you do that, and then, and then your soul actually gives you that answer. I
Yeah.
find it, I I practiced with once. It seems to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the trauma, I think it's a residual feeling, I believe, isn't it? It's such leave you with a feeling, something stays with you, and it's triggers based on some events.
Yes.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. So that is like, you had so for example, I had
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
dog bite, when I was little. So
Mm-hmm.
some dog bit me, and
Mm-hmm.
now I have that fear. I saw a dog, even though the dog is calm and quiet,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just suddenly, immediately, the trauma thing kicked in and said, "Oh,
Yep.
you're going
Mm-hmm.
to dog is going to
Mm-hmm.
bite." So,
Yeah.
that, so like that, I have other things. But, I'm just telling you, the trauma is so, then also I thought of it, why this trauma exists, what is the usefulness of this trauma feeling, something positive need to come out of this too, right? So,
Yes. Well, trauma's loud, which
yeah.
may sound obvious, but trauma's really loud. And just seeing what, to your earlier point, there's a myriad of ways to address this. What the intention here that Melanie and I have established is healing in a held space where no part of you is made wrong or bad. And then just recognizing that whatever it is that's going to help us acknowledge the trauma and then help it move even a little bit is going to be helpful. And recognizing, like the dog bite, that we have so we have trauma, it gets frozen in one part of the brain, and we spend a lot of time trying to make sure that never happens again. So if you don't engage with a dog, you're not going to get bit again. So it's just recognizing that by healing that, it's okay to encounter dogs that are friendly and all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that, Tulasi. Appreciate it. And thanks for being here. Yeah. Wonderful. Who else would like to share your experience or feelings or insights?
Hey, Mark. It's
Yes,
me,
Pepper.
September.
I see you.
Hey,
Yes.
yeah, that's so weird. It doesn't show on my
It's all
screen.
good. It's all good. Here you are. Yeah.
So, but from what I understand and what we've done in the past and all of that, actually, so much trauma does follow through our lineage, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
we can't even know. And I think there was a recent article on this or something that it's so traceable.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to like this supposition that it happens, but that it's actually traceable in DNA. And so if that's the case, how would we even know what some of our traumas are? We wouldn't even know them. I mean, I can't know what happened 200 years ago.
No, but this is what in the book It didn't start with you. Mark Woolen, a book on ancestral trauma or inherited trauma. That won the title. It didn't start with you. His, I think it's like on the first page, he says like, well, what happened? What happened? You know? And this is getting into recognizing, one, especially in America, we don't know our family history for the most part. But if we look, even poke a little bit, like, you know, who had grandparents or great grandparents who went through the Depression in the 30s, you know, talk about a national trauma. You know, I think many people here had, you know, either it be the Holocaust or the Armenian genocide, recognizing what happened in the family or other atrocities, other wars and such. And it's recognizing those were not casual experiences. And so perhaps just by even looking at the 20th century and then going a little further back of seeing like how much changed and what happened. You know, what has been the effect of, you know, the Cold War, of the idea that, you know, of that people can decide our fate. And this is where I think spirituality, or not think, this is where spirituality is very empowering. Let's choose peace. And let's recognize, so in a nutshell about ancestral trauma, in a nutshell, what came through in doing this for years and is the statement that we could say to our ancestors, which is, I honor you by thriving.
And that does make sense.
Yeah, I honor you by having a really good life. And it may seem absurd, but I think it's absolutely not right now. Like, let's focus on a planet where no one, that killing each other is not a solution anymore. That seems a bit outdated, doesn't it? You know? And
it really
just recognizing
does.
that when, you know, during the opposite of the 20th century and the 21st century, which is a peaceful planet of harmony. But I think we can kind of scratch the surface on beliefs. So in my family, you know, at meals, for people, you know, coming from people who spend a period of time starving, the question is, did you get enough? Did you have enough to eat? You know, so we hear the history in our language.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't necessarily need to know, but I think we could kind of poke and recognize, oh, my family's from Ireland. That's interesting. You know?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's some traceable things, but for me,
yeah,
they don't go, I mean, I don't have the skill to get back way far, but
I understand. Yeah.
you know, it is interesting.
It is. But I think I want to hear Melanie wants to share something. Yeah, go ahead, Melanie.
Just kind of on the point, sort of with what we were talking about before, how we were like, you don't need to talk about all the details of what happened or know the details of someone else's trauma to help them. Getting back also to that mindfulness of noticing when we feel a certain way, if we are carrying these traumas from other generations inside of us, even just witnessing, noticing, recognizing our reactions to certain situations, like the emotions that come up, the physical sensations, and then doing our best to work with that or heal that. That's a way to heal those without even really needing to know what happened, even just recognizing this makes me uncomfortable. I either am going to try and work through this or I'm going to remove myself from this situation. That's a way that you can attempt to heal some of those things by just recognizing them without needing to know all the lineage, because I certainly don't know most of my lineage.
Yeah, but we know what doesn't feel good. And we could trust that knowledge. Also, it is, we live in a period of time where we're obsessed with consciousness and knowing. And to Melanie's point, we don't need to know everything. We just don't. We could know.
Oh, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to know everything.
Want to know, but yeah.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't want to know everything. I only want to know what I need to know to get to Z. You know, I don't need all the stuff.
Totally get it.
In fact, I was at a meeting today for an hour and a half, and the woman never took a breath. And I left there. I know more about a stranger
Mm-hmm.
and my head was pounding.
Mm-hmm.
I had to come home and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh dear Lord.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She just dumped on me.
I understand. So you know what her childhood dinner table was like, huh?
Oh, that's awful.
There it is. But this is where we get into compassion
Yeah,
and to
well,
recognize, and it could be tedious, but we could recognize, okay, that's why that's happening. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is not, it's profiling, but it's profiling positively, recognizing into the compassion space. So we can disengage from things and also put forward intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. But what we can do ultimately is let's focus on creating a world where everyone thrives, not just some people thrive,
Mm-hmm.
which is failing miserably right now. So
I know, it would be great. It would
yeah,
be great.
let's do it. Yeah. Thank you, September. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anyone else want to share? Allison, you want to share anything? Or Dina? The shy, respectful folks who are here? Or Karen or Sabrina? Or Lisa?
I love the safety meditation.
Good. I'm glad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was great. And I'm a huge Archangel Michael fan, and I definitely needed
Mhm.
the love and supports. That was awesome. And this
Mhm.
whole trauma conversation has been just great. Really good content. Thanks everybody for your contributions.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Melanie, do you want to share? Any thoughts or?
This has been a great experience for me. I've learned a lot. I've taken on a lot of responsibility, which has been great. And honestly, I just feel really grateful for all of you for being here, because this couldn't have happened without all of you. And
Mhm.
I'm just honored and surprised that so many people were here to hold this loving space with us. I'm very grateful for that.
Mhm. Yeah. Wonderful. Great.
Is
Can I
this
share
our
something?
last one?
This is the last one.
Oh,
And
okay.
but we're going to keep going. So we're going to keep going in a slightly different way, which is Melanie and I were talking about, like basically what are the unmet needs, and we're going to do something in August focusing on young people or for young people.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because that's certainly an unmet need. We're also just talking about, mature people, and perhaps there is a combination of this came through as a guidance in the meditation of what's it like to share wisdom,
Mm.
and if we don't attach wisdom to age, like what do we know? What do we know to be true? What are our shared goals? So we're going to keep going just with a slightly different focus.
I just wanted to thank you guys. It's been a really wonderful experience. Learning not through the brain, but through experience.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was the goal, that we don't like, it's not like a lecture of like, well, this is trauma. This is what trauma's doing. Like this is honestly, this is a fantastic book. And I think we almost got through halfway through the book. I mean, almost. And but it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter. But the fact that we're sharing knowledge and experience and recognizing that it's okay to heal, and that there's ways to heal, and that there are solutions. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you both.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, both of you. Thank
Welcome.
you.
You're welcome.
Mark, can I share something about my experience? I was kind of waiting for
Sure.
everyone to
Yeah. Go for
go.
it. Go for it, Lori. Yeah.
There's something I learned from listening to you, Melanie and Mark, that's really kind of brain breaking for me, which is that part of a trauma response in me is almost like a panic, like, oh my God, where's that coming from?
Mhm.
And I want to understand where it's coming from so I can nail it, solve it, move on more healthfully and without harm to anyone.
Mhm.
And what I learned in listening to you guys from the book and in your comments is that not only do I not need to know, but that if I can just recognize like, that feels old, then I can kind of like a little child, like, oh, honey, hello. And like a beautiful scar, even if it's on my face, like pet it, like, oh, yeah, there's that. And then the whole thing can calm down. Do you know what I mean? Like, just that I don't have to solve it and I don't actually have to name it, but that I can acknowledge it and hold it and kiss it and just be with it. And then I can move forward, because the panic of not knowing why that strong response creates worse cycle. Does that make sense?
100% it makes sense. And that ultimately, and this is where we can get into compassion and have a vision, it's twofold, which is to recognize the youngest part of you who's scared, and to bring that part of you relief. And we do not need to know what happened. Sometimes we do know what happened. We do not need to know. We can recognize that there's a 5-year-old little girl who's scared. Let's let her hang out with Mother Mary or Archangel Michael or Kuan Yin and have something to eat and take a nap, and you'll handle other stuff. That
Yes.
we are bringing relief. We're acknowledging where there is part of us who doesn't know what to do and is overwhelmed. And if we encountered a child who was upset, we would help that child. We get to do that for ourselves. And there's so many different things that are combined here, but that is the ultimate act, which is to recognize, okay, something happened and we're going to bring relief. And I, as the conscious adult, am going to take care of all the adult stuff and bring relief to this part of myself. And that works.
And sometimes just relief through companionship.
Acknowledgement, acceptance, companionship. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for being with me. You know, I got my aunt, this, and this is on her table. And, I got, it's just seeing like, what can this do? Which is a lot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing, Lori. Okay. We'll let it go there. I really do appreciate all of you being here. I do want to acknowledge Melanie. This is the first time she's done something like this, and I think she's excelling at it and doing a great job and been a great partner in this. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Melanie. And and thank you all. And also, the ultimate goal is to shine a light on New Renaissance Bookshop. So I do want to mention one thing, which is that if anybody wants to get a reading with me, either 15 minutes, half hour, an hour, and you mention this or mention the store, I'll give half the funds from that to the store. I'll donate that. Okay.
Cool.
If you just mention that, or just let me know. We could even be in the session. We could just arrange something. It's on my website. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you all for being here. Yeah, appreciate your presence.
Thanks everybody so much. It was a great session. Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa. Okay.
Mark, I do have a quick question, if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
Yes.
When you mentioned that next time you're going to focus on kind of younger folks, are you talking about specifically like actually children or just kind of younger generations, like young adults?
Younger generation.
Okay.
And why is almost to a person, there's anxiety. And so it's a seeing where, and it's not a trivial conversation, but it's the phones and it's the technology and it's how things are wired now, which is very unique. And it's to not only focus on that, but and that's invisible, but to just basically, it was the conversation of like, where can we meet the unmet need? And it feels like that is an unmet need in terms of conversation with compassion and not going like, you should do this. Yeah. Do you want to speak to that, Melanie, at all?
I guess, yeah, we just were hoping. I mean, I grew up with technology. I think the first iPhone came out when I was in like first grade or kindergarten or something like that. So it's definitely a completely different experience to grow up with social media and technology around you constantly. So we wanted to create a space to discuss things like loneliness, anxiety, attention all of those sorts of things to hopefully help people of around my generation and younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for clarifying. I'm really interested, so I'll keep tabs on that. Thank you.
We'll keep tabs. They'll be announced through the store and through my website, my social media, and all that stuff. So yeah. Okay. Wonderful. I appreciate all of you being here, and thank you so much. Okay. And have a good night, everyone.
Thank you both.
Right.
Welcome.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.